Okay, so we have here another spore and another structure important to make the spore. Of course, we have the conidiospore. Okay, so what is conidiospore? So it's a multiple or single spores formed at the end of the aerial hypa. Sometimes we call it conidia or conidiospore. And the one that makes the conidiospore or the one that produces conidia or conidiospore, we have conidiopores. And so take note, conidiospore is not enclosed with a sac. And of course, example, we have aspergillus and penicillium. So this is the structure of a conidiospore, and this is the development of conidiospore. Of course, you have stalk forming, then later on we form the vesicle, sorry, and then we have the methylae, the pileates, and conidia, pialite, and conidia. Um, so the pialite, this is a single slender tubular conidiopore, and again, uh, the conidiopore is a specialized strand of hypa. So take note, this is belong to hypa, like part of the hypa, and this is a conidiospore, and it's a specialized hypa, and it's important to make the conidia or conidiospores. Okay, so this is an example of like fungi under microscope, and this is I think penicillium. And take note the presence of conidia, and of course you have the conidiopore, the specialized stalk or the specialized hypa, and of course you have the slender conidiopore that links the main conidiospore to the conidia. Of course, we have the pialites. Okay, sorry, the pialites. Okay, and Aspergillus niger. Um, this is the Aspergillus niger on agar plate, and the black greenish structure, those are the spores. Okay, and so Aspergillus niger, um, it's usually one of the most common species of Aspergillus. And take note that usually Aspergillus they are found in the soil, and they are Aspergillus niger species. Usually, they are a major cause of decay of agricultural crops. So that's why we have here the molds. Okay, the ear molds, and usually they're affecting crops such as corn. Okay, and sometimes people develop allergy um, from Conidia of Aspergillus. Okay, in addition, class Aspergillus is quite um, dangerous. Um, why? Because some of, like not some, like many species of Aspergillus are known to produce mycotoxins, and yeah. So this is uh, an example of Aspergillus. So this is Aspergillus under a microscope, and of course the Conidiospore and Conidiospore, and we have here the vesicle at the center. Um, and take note, there is no presence of sac, so this is a Conidiospore or the Conidia, and and this is Aspergillus flavus. Here, Aspergillus flavus, and take note, Aspergillus flavus is known to produce alpha-toxin, and alpha-toxin, take note, is a very dangerous, so it considered a poison, and alpha-toxin also is known to promote uh, carcinogenesis in human. So that's why pag nakita niyong yung food with molds or yung vegetable with molds, um, don't eat those food na meron ng molds because we don't know if it's Aspergillus flavus or other Aspergillus species. And again, if that food contains alpha toxin, it's very dangerous to your health. Okay. If there is pathogenic Aspergillus, there is also um, beneficial Aspergillus. So this is actually soybean and those greenish structure like here, yung parang soil. Those are actually fungi. That is Aspergillus also, and we call it Aspergillus oryzae. Okay, oryzae, like Oryza sativa, like oryzae, Aspergillus oryzae. And we use Aspergillus oryzae to ferment soybean, like for flavoring. So to make soy sauce, we use Aspergillus oryzae to ferment soybean. Okay, so take note the structure of conidiopore, and of course we have the conidiospores. They are not inside the sac. Okay, and here is another Aspergillus. Um, so sometimes nakikita nyo to sa onion, like yung black mold. Yeah, so yung common name niya ay black mold. So um, this is what we call Aspergillus niger. Okay, and take note, um, we have the Conidia on a hype. So it's spore on a hype. We call it Conidia. Conidium isa. Um, and then of course we have the Conidiospore. If the spores are enclosed by a sac, we called it Sporangiospore. Okay, and the stalk or the specialized hyphae, we called it a Sporangiospore. Okay, again, if there is a sac, of course it's a Sporangiospore, and Um, the stalk or the specialized hyphae, we call it sporangiospore. Sporangiospore. Okay, sporangiospore. Okay, so 100 form within a sac. We call the sac sporangium at the end of an aerial hypha. So example, um, we have here rhizopus. So yeah, spore which develop within the sac or a sporangium at the tip of the hypha. And example, we have here, I think this is um, mucor. Yeah, this is mucor. Okay, so mucor um, is a has a sporangiospore. Okay, it has a sac like this thin membrane. Okay, so usually mucor, kita nyo to sa decaying fruit. So I told you it's hard to differentiate mold to each other. Sometimes they look the same. So you don't know if it's black mold or mucor or aspergillus. So anything with mold, like wag nyo lang tanggalin yung mold and then kakainin nyo na. Because take note, we have hypa, and yung hypa nagpe-penetrate yan dun sa inside of the food or ng fruit. And you cannot see it clearly. So kahit natanggalan nyo yung part na to with spores, but inside yung substrate mycelium, hindi nyo siya ganang makikita. Okay. And example, of course, aside from mucor, we have Rhizopus stolonifer or yung tinatawag yung bread mold. So, yeah, common din yung Rhizopus stolonifer in like mold found like strawberries, melon, fruits. And the thing about Rhizopus or yung mga merong sporangiospores, sometimes their hyphae could uh, perform sexual reproduction. Okay, so if you have here um, two hyphal branch, like we have two different hyphal branches, we have positive and minus, and that one will form the zygote. And this zygote is, we call it zygospore. That's what, because zygote. So zygospore. Okay. So this zygospore will develop to form um, another sporangioform containing with sporangium. Okay. So again, example, we have bread mold. So bread mold, no, considered siya as uh, sporangiospores. Okay. So this is example of zygospore. So I think zygospore, I think hypa, another hypa, another zygospore ito, hypa, and another hypa. So take note, makikita niyo yung difference nung um, sporangiospore and zygospore. Basta in between two hypa is um, a zygospore. Okay. Then we also have microconidia and microconidia. So usually these are found in um, dermatophytes. So pag sinabi yung derma, of course we have skin and phytes. It's like fungi. Yeah, so these are septate fungi that required and use keratin for growth. So they use the keratin found sa ating skin. And they tend to be confined to superficial integument. So, of course, pag sinabi natin superficial integument, we have the outer layer of the skin. And also sa outer layer of the skin, we also have yung hair, um, nails. So for animals, they have claws, scales, etc. So uh, sometimes they form this classical circular lesion or tinatawag yung ringworm. Okay? Tapos lahat ng mga sakit sa balat na fungal like athlete's foot, yung alipunga pa yun, alipunga, yung athlete's foot, and buni, hadhad, etc. Those are actually caused by dermatophytes. Okay, so this is example of dermatophytes. So we have Trichophyton rubrum. So ito yung Trichophyton, siya yung well-known dermatophytic fungi. So ito yung nagko-colonize ng um, ating outer layer of our skin. Okay, yung yeah. So usually Trichophyton nagko-cause siya ng athlete's foot, again infection ng nail, yung jock itch and ringworm. Okay. And so take note, ito yung macrosporangium. Sobrang obvious naman na macrosporangium. And ito naman yung micro. Okay. So, ito yung summary. So, of course, we have Conidiospore for aspergillus and penicillium. Take note, pag Conidiospores, uh, yung spore, hindi siya, itong Conidia is not enclosed ng sac. And here we have a sporangium and we have the sporangiospore kasi enclosed to ng sporangium or yung sac. And inside itong mga spores inside the sac we call also endospore. Okay, endospore. And another thing for dermatophyte such as Trichophyton, we have the Macroconidium and Microconidium. Okay. And yeah, ito yung unang-una. Also, we have the Arthroconidia. Okay. Yung hypa nagiging nade-develop then into conidia. Okay. And take note again, some of yeast, like pwedeng or some of the mold, pwedeng meron silang yeast transition or yung fungi, they are pwedeng meron silang dimorphic stage, eh, pwede silang dimorphic, sorry. So, meron silang dalawang phases. Pwedeng saprophobic phase or yung maraming hypa, yan. And then, parasitic phase. And kung makikita nyo, mostly lahat ng parasitic phase ay nasa yeast transition. Okay? So, yes.